Hello, my name is Tom Poederbach. I've operated lots of different cameras over the years, from 16mm cameras to 35mm cameras, camcorders to digital cinema, and now I picked up this camera. Many bad stories about the EOS R on the internet. Yes, I do agree with most of the negative remarks, but I realized this is a consumer camera and the first one of a series which will definitely see a professional version. Besides, a camera is as good as the person that operates it. The best way to find out if this camera is that awful as some say is to test it. So let's find out. First I took it to a sports gig and do some stills. It was pouring rain and the stadium light was not enough for high shutter speeds, so ISO went up to 12,800 most of the time. Boy, it was really wet. I struggled with the focus a bit. It's not because of the rain, but it turned out that I used the wrong setting. A couple of days later I worked in better circumstances, still struggling with the autofocus, which is not really unusual with fast action sports. Anyway, I got my pictures. It does not bother me at all that I only have roughly 7 frames per second in high-speed shutter mode. Back in the day I used a single shot. Experience and intuition led me pushing the shutter at the right moment. Anyway, it is not a 1DX Mark II, which I should have brought to the match, but I did not expect the EOS R to be the same league as the 1DX Mark II, so I should not complain at all. And then I saw this on the internet, in comparison with a number of popular cameras. First they showed the 100% version of the video, which did not really show a very big difference between the cameras on my screen, but then they showed a 400% crop. I could not believe the Canon EOS R was that soft in detail. I want to know if this is really true. So I rented an Atomos Ninja 5 so I could record directly 4K in ProRes, and on the camera I selected 8-bit in C-Log with the neutral color matrix. The reason to choose 8-bit in this case is that I like to see what is happening with banding. The Ninja 5 doubles as a high quality viewfinder with all kinds of helpers like zebras, peaking, false colors, histogram and so on. Some of it you can find in the EOS R as well. I also checked the EOS R user guide on what is recorded in what mode. HD 720 and Full HD 1080, that's what the Japanese say, are recorded using almost the full sensor, while 4K is cropped to 1.7, which makes a 50mm lens an 85mm lens. When I mention HD in the titles, it's actually Full HD, since I do not use 720 anymore. An EFS lens that will be used is automatically cropped. EF lenses can be set to crop mode too, if you want that, to give it a narrow field of view. The proper way to check if the camera and the lens create a detailed picture is to use a resolution chart. There are several, but they are quite expensive. So I used another one which I already got, the back focus chest card. We used it in the old days to check the focus of the video zoom lenses in full tele and wide angle, so you stayed in focus doing a live zoom during recording or broadcast. Photo zoom lenses could go wrong there because they don't have a back focus. I did not find real softness in the tests. Even in the 400% crop, there is no softness to see. We even see the chair casing in the contrast edges of the print of the chart, which was done on a cheap printer. With the 15-85 EFS lens, we can hardly see that the picture is a bit sharper in 4K crop mode than in HD full frame mode. It is really hard to see. The EOS R is not that soft at all. It could be softer than the Sony a7 III or the Fujinon X-T3 or the others, but then you should put those cameras in front of the Resonance chart too. Here at 400% it's hardly noticeable. It makes those comparison tests nonsense. Besides, no one is looking at a 400% crop to a movie. I made myself breakfast and shot this video in HD and 4K. You should watch the salt on the plate in the HD shot and compare it to the salt in the 4K shot. It looks like the 4K is slightly sharper. The 400% shows it clearly. In the interview situation I come to the same conclusion. 4K is only a tiny bit sharper than the HD. Just look at the grey hair. Also with the outside shots I did not notice any difference. 4K turns out to be hardly any sharper. Amazing is the focus tracking of the streetcars and buses on the long lens, which is in 4K mode, therefore cropped. I could shift the focus point on the LCD and back again. It works amazingly. In the low light shots with the awful Natrum vapor street lights, the EOS R did a good job. I could even have set the ISO to a higher level, but kept it between 3200 and 6400 to see if in the dark areas the noise gets disturbing, which was not the case. Also in the dark, the autofocus works fine. My conclusion: the Canon EOS R is not as bad as some websites want you to believe. It's not yet an ideal camera, but as a professional I can work with it. Only for video shots I would recommend using a Ninja 5. One SD slot is not really enough. And you have, with the Ninja 5, a 10-bit recording in 4:2:2, and for a much longer duration when using the data-hungry 4K mode.